Greetings viewers, and thanks for joining me out in the shop today. Time to hook a bunch of stuff up. I got the engine, transmission, all of that's hooked up now. When I left you last time, I still needed to make the cross member, measure for drive shafts, put all the front stuff on the engine, do the little sundries like the battery hold down, shroud, belts. Belts are pretty important. I'll show you how to adjust all the accessories to put the belts on. Gonna kind of jump around because that's how I do. Once I get everything I think I need done, and my box of bolts is dwindling fast, then I'm going to try and get that fuel pump running. See if I can't make this baby fire up, even though the exhaust may not be hooked up by then, because I thought I had the right gaskets and I didn't, and I ordered them and they sent me the wrong ones. That's the way that happens, isn't it? So I'm going to get started on these belts. So one of the very first things I noticed upon initial inspection with using the Tacoma 4-cylinder AC compressor and the V6 mount is that the pulley, the tensioner down here on the bottom, the center guide here, which is for the AC compressor on the 4Runner, is not lining up with this compressor, which means I need to change that compressor, which is not a terrible thing to have to do. But I'm going to have to take down the system and swap over the compressor and possibly the top. So, okay. That's not going to change our plan today. That's going to let me change air conditioning system in the future because I have to change the condenser, the dryer, and the hard lines to make this work. And I'm betting I need that pressure switch up there. So I can order all that in a kit. So that's going to have to be ordered first. So the air conditioning is not getting hooked up on this yet. I'll go to the first belt back, which is alternator, show you how to hook your alternator up and tighten it. I got to go ahead and put the fan and the pulleys on now, just making sure they only kind of go on one way, but now I'm a little flustered about that air conditioning thing. So let me get over that real quick. Block everything here while I'm putting the fan on. If you watch the timing belt video, you saw how to take the fan off. You just reverse that procedure. Took a little break, played with the dog. That's not a euphemism for something weird. I actually went and played with the dog. Got my attitude adjusted, ready to start back on this and show you how to adjust these belts and move along today. Oswald's not done playing. He's back there poking me in the leg with his nose. He wants to play some more. All right, so you got your fan all tightened down. Take the belt and feed it over here, like you would. It goes on the furthest back of pulleys. Watch out for any other obstructions in the way, like bolt heads and or things such as that. Get it all the way on both of your pulleys. Can't get it. Gonna have to move the alternator in. I'll try to get down there and show you the adjustments on the alternator here. You have to loosen this one. See that one there on the bottom of the alternator? Sure. Okay, loosen that up, and then see the one on the end out there? You got to turn that. Turn it counterclockwise to run the alternator further back. Clockwise to pull the alternator further out, which will put the tension on the belt. I'm going to do that now that you've seen what the bolts are. Maybe you can better understand. It's a 12 on the bottom, 14 on the top. The adjuster's also a 12. I'm going to spray that real quick. It's because it's making creaky sounds is what I was going to say. If you don't use these kind with the straw, that's bendable and flexible. If you've never used them, man, that's a game changer when you got to get in, try to get the threads down under, back behind something. They're freaking awesome. Choose whatever brand you like. This is my favorite. A few more of these. Well, I've been cranking on that for more than a minute. That's the difference between your new belts and your old belts. Now, can you see how I got it stretched on there? And it still won't go all the way. And I'll put my socket on my crank pulley here and turn it. Making sure to turn it clockwise. See it pull that belt on? That's another top tip from Funjunkie Garage. Now, when you go to tighten that back up, turning it the other direction, this is where the bolt being in a little cradle, because every time you turn it wants to pop up out of there. It's a fine thread. You got to turn it a bunch to get it back out of there. We'll start cranking on that wrench in the opposite direction, which is tightened now. Put tension on that belt. I'm going to crank on this for a minute. I'll get back to you when I get close. Okay, I got this cranked down from the bolt out there, the adjuster. That's 12 millimeter. I got it cranked down. It's tight, but it's not so tight that you can't push it up and down like a ½ inch or so. That's generally plenty. When you get that to where you want it there, tighten your bottom one and your top one down. The windshield list is really important, and especially situations like this where I start getting real happy that it's all starting to go together, and then I look up there and remember there's still only 3 quarts of oil in the engine, so I can't forget to put my rest of my oil in. I still need to get my transmission fluid, things like that. So let me just point them out again here. All right, so that one's easy to see. You have to loosen that one. That's your pivot. The one that has the spinny thing on the back of it. You see the adjuster screw and all on the back side of it. So you have to loosen up that one. That's also a 14. Or that one right there. And then the adjuster is really hard to see. It's right down there. It's also a 14. You can get your socket and ratchet on it okay. Hope you could see that. Toyota does do you the courtesy of making that one at the bottom in a hole, not in a U shape, so it's not such a problem to fight since it's in such a strange place. But once you get your ratchet on it, you can hold it with one hand and move it with the other. It's not that bad. Good push on the top and that'll get it down. Get my belt ready, see how much further I need to go. This one goes in the outermost because your AC should be in the middle. Make sure you can still access your hole there in the middle. Put the wrench back on down there in the tighten direction and tighten that back up. So I run that back again, show you my belt sitch at the end. All right, once you get it adjusted where you got about your ½ inch either direction, uppy downy there, you can tell it's nice. You put your belt or your 14 up here on your pivot that you left room for through your pulley. Go ahead and tighten that one up. Then you need to go down here and get this one and tighten it up. Now you may have observed that these are not brand new belts. I am not made of money and neither is my customer. I would not put anything on a vehicle on here and show you that I did not trust and rely on and stand behind. So, yeah, that's a used belt. I salvage a lot of vehicles. I get a lot of brand new parts on stuff. Really helps me help a lot of people out. So, whatever you think about that, it's fine by me. But I wouldn't put anything on here I wouldn't send my own wife and kids out in. And yes, I do love my wife and kids, so that. All right, now insert radiator thusly. The factory or OEM radiators will have tabs on them that hold it into place while you get your bolts started, where this particular aftermarket unit does not have. It's nice, but certainly, of course, not necessary. Let's get one started. Should have maybe take that live battery out instead of laying tools across it. Dang. All right, so we are moving directly along here. Hoses from this is the radiator for a 95 Tacoma with a 3.4. This engine is from a 98 4Runner. And the hoses line up just perfect. Even though you had the 4-banger and you went to the 6, all the holes for the radiator are in the same place and it bolts right up, as I'm demonstrating for you now. Again, I like to get them all started before I start cranking any of them down. If you're playing along at home, you should be getting really excited by now. I'm always jumping around. That's a wonder you can keep track sometimes. If you ever have any questions too, leave comments. I love the comment section. I read everyone and I reply to everyone. So yeah, if you've got a comment or something, I'd love to hear it. Good, bad, or indifferent. I'd love to hear it. I just appreciate you watching my show. Grab that fan shroud. All right, now I've got the 4-cylinder fan shroud. And it is not the same. Let me grab a 6-cylinder fan shroud and see if that fits. Okay, let's see if this one will do it. Oh yeah, perfect. Don't forget to put the little clippy piece on at the bottom. I'll do that. Let me grab some tins and bolt that on. That's why I have kept everything from both motors and am keeping everything until this whole job is done. All right. Okay, so here's a confusion eliminating issue and frustration eliminating issue for some, I hope. This clip thing that looks like you should grab it from here and undo it, I hope I'm in the camera with all of that. You actually, this will be on the radiator in this fashion. You reach up from inside and pull it here to release it from your fan, from your radiator shroud, fan shroud. So yeah, I hope I got that all in there right. This is the clip. You release it from the back and this part will be up against the radiator. If you don't know how to get that thing out, you can just break them right off without even trying. Now they got 2 tabs that clip on the bottom. I think that's an important part of the shroud. I'll slip under there and put it on. While I'm down there, I'm gonna put the bottom radiator hose on, move up to the top hose, put the overflow jug in, moving right along. All right, now with that on being the clippy thing for the fan shroud, got my bottom radiator hose on. Sorry, having a granola bar attack there. Top hose. These are the 4Runner hoses that, or like I say, were new hoses I got off, maybe not the donor vehicle, but another vehicle that I get, because I scrap them and I save everything that's good, because a lot of people don't have any money and they need to keep their cars going. Whoop. Spitting the granola bar now. But anyway, again, not what I'm here to talk about today. Okay. Yeah, sometimes I try to line them up in the same groove if they came off the Yeah, I don't want that one down there. You want to keep those in an easy place to get to, of course, which generally they are while you're putting them on. I'm ready to start adding some antifreeze. But first, I'm going to do that overly flowed jug. All right, you remember all that crap that was in the engine? It was dripping out of that radiator hose when I pulled the engine. That's how deep the sludge was in the bottom of my overflow jug. So I'm glad I double checked that before I just came and brought it to install. So I took that out and cleaned it all off. I didn't get all the dirt off the outside, but I got all the yuck out of the inside. This does just slide down over a bracket. Yeah, see that bracket right there? And this just is so easy. You could do it with one hand. There you go. And then there's, oh yeah, the little nubby on the bottom has to fit into that little rubber grommet down there and keep that ABS wire out of the way while you're doing that. Because you're not supposed to have ABS wire in this truck anyway. And the ABS on the early ones was such crap. It just kicked the brake pedal back up at you and didn't really do anything to help you stop. It was pretty terrible. Now when it's time to add antifreeze, remember long life, red, pink, whatever you want to call it, Toyota Coolant didn't come out till 04. So everything 04 and back, I'm sorry, 03 and back takes regular old style antifreeze. And I'll show you what it has to have in it here in a second if I got some. Now, the only difference I can tell from antifreezes, and you won't be able to probably read that on there, but I'll try to get it, that ingredient, sodium benzenate. Can you see that? Yeah, right there. That's the only thing the older antifreezes have that the new antifreeze pink stuff doesn't have. I've never tried the new pink stuff that came 04 and later because, except unless I had an 04 and later vehicle. So I'm telling you again what I'm doing. Right, wrong, or indifferent. You make your own choices. But this will sure get it done, and this is the right way in my opinion. Also got my air cleaner. That's an easy one. 2 tabs on the box. Pop it open. Amazonian specials here. I like to order a bunch of these at a time because if I go out wheeling and suck up water, I like to have a spare one around. That's as easy as that. Now I don't have near enough antifreeze on hand, but I am going to use what I got here. This just happens to be Xerox brand. Now, even though this is made for older cars, it's still manufactured in current day, and current day antifreeze allegedly has something in it that makes it taste foul, so critters won't drink it, but I'm not going to test that theory. Look at all the shit you learn watching my show, huh? Alright viewers, if you're playing along at home and you want to know what parts I need to finish up today's project, which it'll actually be tomorrow, but you won't even know I was gone. I need to get an air filter. I already put one in, but that was out of my own stash, so I need to replace it. The exhaust manifold gaskets to order again, in case you're following along. And I rarely give you all the practical information that you need. 2 1/4 outside diameter, 1 3/4 inside diameter. Those are inches. That's for the exhaust manifold gaskets, and you do need 2 of those. I need to get some automatic transmission fluid, the Dexron. There's no T in Dexron. The Dexron 2 or 3. I need some for the transmission because this is AT4 Toyota fluid, which also came out in 04, so you need the Dexron, and you also use the same Dexron in the power steering. Now power steering's been hooked up and full and not leaking. I'm happy to see that. but that'll need topped off and bled. Transmission will need filled up from where I cleaned that tube out. You see where I back flushed the dipstick tube on that? That was crucial to proper transmission usage there. Some more oil, 3 more quarts for the engine. My personal favorite's the Mobil 1. I use the 530 like is recommended. Antifreeze, I just showed you what kind of antifreeze. I need more. I like the 50-50 mixed stuff. It takes 4 gallons total to fill this engine up, and you'll have some left over. Radiator cap, because it didn't come with one. And the hoses and such needed to hook up my tranny cooler, because I am going to be able to go ahead and hook that transmission cooler up. My list now consists on the windshield of the AC issue. Top off the ATF, I'll be doing that. ATF for power steering, be doing that. Add the oil, one more time. Tighten up the motor mount bolts. All 4 motor mount bolts are still loose, because I like to let everything rock around and settle where it needs to be so they're not in a bind. That's just personal preference there. Then I'll have some wire splicing to do. I did move the horn, for those of you that have noticed, from over here to over here where the good plug was. If I get around to it, I'll splice a second horn in over here, but we'll see how she sounds with just the one. The AC issue is something I'm going to tackle entirely separately now, just so as not to confuse this. But trust me, you can't easily adapt to the 4-cylinder compressor because the pulley sets back too far and you can't get your belt on it. So that'll be a separate thing. Wire splicing, I may do enough to get this fuel pump running this video, but I make no promises. We'll see how much time it takes to get everything else done. Motor's still setting on the jack because I still need to do that. That's something I want to get to, but it isn't crucial as long as the vehicle doesn't move. Super close to firing it up though. I'm excited. I'm going to gather all this stuff up in the morning, and hopefully this video will still get this baby to purr out that open exhaust. So I'll be back in the morning. All right, viewers, talking from the fender again here just for a minute. This antifreeze now, I gave you a lesson on sodium benzenate and antifreeze. If you don't get one that says absolutely guaranteed to work for all vehicles, which is new to me, I didn't know, but I ain't always the sharpest knife in the drawer. Antifreeze has this proprietary inhibitors. Say that 3 times fast. So if it's got that, I guess, it works for everything. Time to fill these fluids. We'll top off the oil, the antifreeze, and the power steering here real quick. Just 3 more quarts of oil. Always a better deal at my local parts store if you get the 5-quart jug and a filter. That's why I always have a bunch of extra filters. Just top off. Even though it needs to be bled, I'm still just going to top off the power steering, so if I get a chance to fire this up, at least all the fluids are full. And the transmission lost just a smidge. I'm going to go ahead and put a double smidge back in it. Just to put the transmission cooler on, I bought the adapters, but I failed to get clamps. I can't believe I did that, and I don't have any, and that was the whole reason I didn't do it the other day, because I got the hose. Anyway, I'm just going to hook it up in the radiator for now. Now, having scratched several things off of my windshield list just by filling up fluids, they didn't have a radiator cap for me at the local parts store, but I got one ordered. It's supposed to be here tomorrow. That will not stop me from trying to fire this thing up for a minute. All my fluids are topped off. One of my items on here is the motor mount bolts. I'm satisfied that everything is where it needs to be, so I'm going to crank those motor mount bolts down real quick. Got all those motor mounts tightened up now. You think it's going to crank over on its own? That'll be the first exciting thing it's done on its own since I swapped everything over, other than sit here and not leak. too much. I did find 2 small coolant leaks. Both were just a hose that needed tightened. There's no drive shafts hooked up, but I did crawl under there and make sure the transmission was in park. What do you think? Is it going to crank? I got all the right lights on the dashboard lit up. Look at that! Look at that! Oh, I'm so excited! It worked off the key just like it should. I'm going to now look into hooking up some fuel for this unit. Those motor mounts kind of suck too, by the way, to hook up. I still have to rewire the washer and wipers, splice in that one extra horn. I've got the AC issue, and I always put lug nuts on there because generally I'm having wheels off and on, and I need to always make sure I check lug nuts. Of course, in this case, I'm going to put tires on it anyway. So I'll have the wheels off, but I always put lug nuts up there. Now, let me grab the harness from the inside of the Tacoma. All right, as it lays here on the floor, in case you're confused, there are your cluster plugs. There's your stuff that went under the column. This would have come down the left-hand side of the dash, and this ran down the left-hand sill and plugged in under the seat to the fuel and lights. This was the seat belt wire. I'm going to cut this pigtail off as far up as I can so I have as much wire as I can, and that'll be necessary for splicing in all of my tail light wires, fuel pump, backup lights, etc. Now I cut that off of there, and I kept all this wire. I am not going to need anywhere near that much wire. That plug, though, is impertinent. I need to find out which of these wires does what. This is the pigtail that goes to the back, and I'm sure has my tail lights, reverse lights, fuel pump, fuel gauge, yeah, all that stuff in it. But I'm so excited right now. All right, now that it's cranking, even though there's more pressing things that need to be done, I want to wire this up and make the fuel pump run. One of these is my fuel pump wire that makes the fuel pump come on when you turn the key on. I am going to take this off here because I believe it's in here and use my test light and just poke these plugs and see if I can find the right one that comes on bright and 12 volts. This will be the part that plugs in under the carpet here that hooks to the Tacoma go back stuff. I know this one is seat belts. I'm going to try and look up a wiring diagram so that I don't do something stupid, but I think since I only have 12 volts, I can't really hurt anything. So I'm going to commence, get some of these wires freed up. I know this is way too long, but I don't know for sure if I don't need any of that stuff over there on the other side. So I have a feeling it's going to be a large wire, but I could be wrong. Turn my key on. Hey, there I got some 12 volt power. Stays on in the run position. What would go back there that needs 12 volt that would stay on in the run position? Do we know? Well, oh, there I got 12 volts too. And that one stays on both in the run position and in the on position. I'll go over here and see. Oh, that's still on though, even with the key off, so that can't be it. Back to key on stuff. Does that one stay hot when the key is off? It does not. So could be that one. That is the big gray colored one. Let's see if that's low volt, so that's not it because it needs 12 to run. And there's 12. But that's 12 even when the key is off, so that ain't it. All right, I'm thinking this one here, the only one that shuts off when the key is off. And that goes to the second one up, which is the big fat gray wire right here. So I'm going to use that as my fuel pump wire. I hope you could see that, what was happening there. And since I'm a one-man, one-camera show here, I'm going to have to put you on hold while I Google which wire it is on the Tacoma that I should jump to, because none of the Tacoma wires are that fat on that plug. Okay, now of course this is not right. There's a big thick white and black one there. That's generally always a ground. I'm going to ground it here. I did ground it here. I promise you I haven't tried it yet. I got the blue to the gray and the ground. I think that should be everything I might need. I'm going to see if it'll fire up. Or if anything happens. Yes! Woo! Yes, yes, yes! Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, you probably can't even hear me screaming over that, or maybe you could. I am so excited. I got the fuel pump wires right on the first try. And yeah, I mean, I cheated. I looked at Google on the Tacoma one, but I just wire tested the other. Probably wise to look up what color wire that was. All right, first initial startup, there'll be some smoke. I'm going to need to go around and do fuel or do an inspection thing. I'm going to set this up where hopefully the dog won't knock it over. He loves the loud noise. And give this a go around with a flashlight real quick. Hopefully no emergency. Shut it off, shut it off. Hopefully my two fuel leaks are no longer fuel leaks. And I got it. Hope you can kind of see. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna put you back here. So we know it's going. I'm not gonna rev it up a bunch because it's resting on the thing. But yeah, oh, I'm so excited. Watch this. Oh, I knocked the ground wire off. That's the only reason it died. I'm going to put it right back on and prove it again. I'm super fucking excited right now, you can betcha. Put that ground strap right back on. Let's see. Yeah! Alright, that is by no means the end of the wiring. Thanks for being excited with me for that. I hope you were as excited as me. I didn't see anything leaking, smoking, or acting weird. I'm going to bring it up to temperature. I'm going to put the shifter and stuff in, bring it up to temperature, and maybe check the transfer fluid. It's time to move down and do other things underneath. This wiring, of course, it's on its way, and I know which one's the fuel pump and which one's the ground. And you saw my 3RZ to 5VZ swap using a Forerunner as a donor. Fired up, hot dog, I'm excited. Thanks for joining me for this part today. There'll be some more hookup with the drive shafts and cross member and things like that underneath, the interior pieces that all need to go back in. Man, I'm excited. That is the leak from before, not the current, not currently. But yeah, wow. So yeah, thanks for joining me. If you liked my show, please subscribe. If you want to see more, even if you don't like and subscribe, man, I still appreciate you watching. I'm hoping you enjoy it. You can't tell I'm freaking elated. I can't wait to notify the owner of the truck and let her know that it's up and going. Wow. Thanks for joining us out in the shop today. Have a super great day.